What's going on, guys? It's Sep, and first you can find me on twitch.tv/Separer every single night at 6 p.m. PST. And today we are going to do something a little different. We are going to tell you what all of the best god rolls you can get for every single Trials weapon are. Now, we don't exactly know what weapons they're going to be bringing back this season, but what we do know is that they redid a whole lot of perks. They added in some, they brought back some old ones. You are going to want to go for new rolls on your Trials weapons, but good for us, they finally introduced targeted loot. I will find out today, as soon as this video goes live, exactly how that's going to work and the best ways to get loot for you guys, but biggest thing we need to go for first is what should you be going for. First up, we have Astral Horizon. So, this did not drop with Elemental Capacitor for the longest time. They completely reworked all of the perks on this gun multiple times. So when they are bringing it back, Elemental Capacitor is data mined to be in the loot pool. So what roll do you want on your Astral if it drops with the perks that are available? Well, if it does drop this season, what you want to go for is you want to have that range masterwork, Adept Icarus to have as much range as possible, full choke in the first slot, accurized in the second slot, and then for your last ones, you're going to want surplus and elemental. This is right now the fastest roll on any shotgun in the game. It's already on the sudden death, but since Astral is an adept weapon, it intrinsically will have more range to it, just for the extra masterwork bonus and Adept Icarus. If you guys are already going for a sudden death or grinding it out as much as you can, I'm telling you, if you're sick of farming it, then wait and see if the Astral is dropping this season and what perks they added to it, because this roll will top the sudden death any day of the week. And on top of that, it is a kinetic shotgun, and therefore you can use your palindrome with it. This is going to be a much better combination than what we have right now with Fatebringer and sudden death. This is definitely the way to go. Next up, we have Reed's Regret. Now, I took a look at this, I went over a lot of the perks, and gotta be honest, it just does not seem that appealing as a linear fusion rifle for PvP. Linear fusions really don't do the job, but for PvE, this thing is an absolute monster. This can roll with different perks such as Triple Tap, Clown Cartridge, Firing Line, Vorpal. I would say your best possible roll is going for the Adept Charge Time roll with Adept Big Ones, and then on top of that, trying to get Fluted Barrel, Particle Repeater, Triple Tap, and Vorpal. If you don't want to go for Particle Repeater just for the stability, I don't know how much that's going to matter. I would definitely recommend instead going for Enhanced Battery for the magazine size. And if you don't want Triple Tap and Vorpal, there's always Clown Cartridge and Firing Line to do as much DPS as possible. It does drop with Headstone, but I don't see Stasis Crystals really coming in clutch. I think the perk roll you're definitely going to want to go for is Triple Tap and Vorpal for as much DPS as possible. In the third slot, we have the best legendary SMG in the game, Shayuras Wrath. Now, I know Shayuras Wrath isn't everybody's favorite due to the fact that it's a 600 RPM. It's not necessarily as fun as the lightweights, but definitely has range on lock, has the most range of any SMG in the game. I would recommend going for a range masterwork as well as Adept Icarus. Go for full bore in your first slot, accurized rounds, Killing Wind, and now it rolls with Elemental Capacitor. Elemental Capacitor is a all-around good perk. It's going to help you out with things like stability, which aren't great on SMGs, handling, which is okay on SMGs, but the most important is that reload speed. You'll be able to keep Killing Wind up constantly. You can also use Kill Clip instead of Elemental, which was already rolling, but I really think the reload Killing Wind is going to give you the max range, max target acquisition for as long as possible. Definitely the roll that you would want to aim for. The fourth Trials weapon that we're going to go over today is a little more interesting. So we have the Eye of Soul Adept roll, and although the perks are absolutely incredible, I only saw one perk change. A little disappointed not to see Elemental Capacitor added, but I think this roll is definitely going to be a little better than the previous one. You're going to want that Adept targeting, because Adept targeting does make a difference on M&K and Controller. You want to max out your range stat. You want to go with Extended Barrel, Steady Rounds, because stability does matter for, countering recoil. In the third slot, we're going to have Ensemble, which is going to increase your handling by a significant amount whenever you are nearby teammates. It's going to go ahead and replace your Surplus perk. I think Ensemble is going to be the next bread and butter for sniper rifles. And your fourth slot, you're going to want Snapshot, of course. Every sniper needs Snapshot. Now, like I said, it would have been really nice to see an Elemental Snap roll or maybe an Elemental Ensemble roll to see how much handling you could stack up. But it looks like that one's not going to be in the cards as far as what has been seen on D2 Gunsmith. Next weapon we're going to go over is once again another PvE main weapon. I personally love using it in Trials just for the chain reaction, but it is Solas Scar. This is the Trials of Osiris legendary sword, and it can roll with a numerous amount of perks, but mainly you're just going to want to go for the Jagged Edge Swordmaster's Guard, Relentless, and Chain Reaction combo. This is pretty much the basic roll that you want to go for on every single sword that's ever existed. It's definitely going to be the most effective at clearing large waves. I went ahead and slapped a big ones mod on it as well, but this one's a pretty simple pick. There's not really other perks that you can play around with. These are just the best in slot perks. Not a whole lot of options. Instead of Chain Reaction, you can always go with Vorpal, but it's mainly for clearing out majors and champions. It's not so much for bosses. If you do want to go ahead and use it in PvP, definitely try to throw on a Radar Booster mod. Radar Booster is just going to help you with a little bit, but you can't pull it out in trial situations anyways, so mainly just going to be wanting to use this in PvE. Next weapon up, we got Tomorrow's Answer. Now this is a very interesting rocket launcher. It has max blast radius, which is automatically going to make it very good for PvP, although rockets right now don't really have a place in PvP. Grenade launchers and swords kind of took over. If you do want to go for a PvP roll, make sure to go for as much velocity as possible. Things like hard launch, as well as high velocity rounds, maybe a little bit of black powder for the extra blast radius. Go with something like quick draw or chain reaction, and that way you can get as big of an explosion as possible. It's going to be a little tough, but if you get the hang of using a rocket launcher, it can be very good. However, for PvE, this thing is an insane monster. You can get adept big ones on it. I go with hard launch and impact casing for as much damage as possible. Then you can also get auto loading and lasting impression. Lasting impression auto loading is a huge staple on rocket launchers these days. Definitely one that everyone's going to recommend. Auto loading just lets you swap back to whatever your special weapon for DPS is. Definitely a must-have for future raids coming up. I know you guys are looking at Witch Queen and what to use. You want to have this ready just in case. Next up, we have the best legendary pulse in the game. This is going to be the Messenger, and you want as much stability as you can get, and that way this turns into an absolute laser beam and the highest DPS legendary pulse in the game. I would go ahead and recommend going with, like I said, just as much stability as possible. Stability Masterwork, Adept Stability, Chambered Compensator for the stability and recoil direction, Ricochet Rounds, which is going to give you stability and range, Rapid Hit, more stability, and as well as a very high reload stat if you get a lot of headshots with it. Desperado is the bread and butter of this gun. Do not go for Kill Clip, Frenzy, any of the other perks. This has to roll Desperado for it to be a good pulse. Desperado, after you earn a precision kill, reload, and it doubles your rate of fire. It is a monster, and you're going to need the stability to be able to use it. But I highly recommend you guys pick one up. Pulses are always going to be a main staple of Destiny 2 PvP. Definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. Next up, we have everyone's favorite D2 auto rifle, the Summoner. Now, I know I've got a whole bunch of stats up on the screen. Those aren't the actual stats that you can get. It's because I have Elemental Capacitor displayed. But what you're going to want to go for is as much range as possible due to the range nerf that it received a couple of seasons ago. You're going to want a whole lot of stability because this thing kicks. It kicks a lot, so that recoil direction is going to help you as well. Getting small bore and ricochet to help you out with that. Moving target, because since it's an auto rifle, it is a dueling gun. You're going to need to win your fights, which means that strafe is going to come in handy. And Elemental Capacitor. Elemental Capacitor is going to be nuts for stability or handling. You really want to make sure that this weapon can win its ones because it has a very good time to kill, but it trades with a lot of weapons. So you're going to mainly want to outgun people with it. And it is going to do phenomenal at that if you have the right perks. So highly recommend that you guys pick up a good summoner. We don't know if it's coming back this season, but I think it's about time that it makes a return. Moving on to the Igneous Hammer. This gun was the bane of everybody's existence for a while, and I think with the new refresh perks, it can make a comeback. We have, of course, staples like full bore, ricochet rounds, those aren't going anywhere. But then we have Elemental Capacitor, which is a brand new addition, and that will make the handling insane on this thing. You no longer need to have quick draw and snap to use it. And that leaves us in the third slot, options like Killing Wind and Encore. Encore is a crazy fun perk. You absolutely slay lobbies out with it, but if you're not getting a lot of kills with it in a place like Control or Rumble, I definitely think Killing Wind's going to help more, which gives you that temporary high extra range and mobility, as well as an extra hitbox addition. It's definitely going to help out with dueling, so if you're playing something like Trials or Survival, go with Killing Wind. Something more quick play like, go with Encore. Moving on to the last two guns, we have the Scholar and Exiles Curse. The Scholar, I would recommend maybe going for as much stability as possible. 150s are not in any meta in the game. They're not very good for PvE. They're very, very bad for PvP right now. I would go with something maybe as much as handling. So, you know, something like Elemental Capacitor combined with Chambered Compensator, Ricochet Rounds, Opening Shot. Something that's going to make the gun feel more consistent. If you do want to use it, definitely throw in a targeting mod. You're not going to be in the air or anything like that. And Exiles Curse, go for maybe as much stability as possible because they added a sliding nerf and they nerfed the heck out of high impacts. So overall, this is just not the move anymore. Maybe go for accelerated coils. It'll help it out a little bit, but overall, Exiles Curse and the Scholar are both left in the dust, even with perk reworks. I don't think that we'll be seeing these anytime soon. So yeah, that's going to be about it. I promise you guys, if you go out and grind the new weapons, it's going to be worth it. There are incredible new perk pools out there. And there's a lot of weapons that deserve that refresh, as well as now, Trials has targeted loot. You can go out, you can get the guns that you want. If you do have any more questions, please swing by the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Separer. I've got all the time in the world to help you guys figure out what roles you need, what perks are going to help your playstyle, anything that you guys could possibly need or have questions for. I got you. That is why we are here. If you guys enjoyed the video, please drop a like, drop a sub, and when this video is going live, I'm more than likely already playing Trials. I'm going to be on that all weekend. I'm excited to grind the new season. Hopefully you guys are too. Much love, and I'll see you then.